Well, the NHL offseason continues. It's been a tumultuous couple of months and lots to talk about on our newest Broadcasters Roundtable. Tim Saunders with Steve Coates, Jason Myrtetus, and sitting in for Jim Jackson is the Hall of Famer Al Morganti. Al, welcome. How's it feel to be hockey royalty?
It's not as imposing as filling in for JJ. I think that's really what I have to get over here.
You've been around a long time.
I have
indeed. Have you seen an off-season like this one?
This has been a real Ferris wheel, up and down type of a thing, from injury to who they signed, who they didn't sign. I mean, the whole league. I mean, the last day with free agency was it was crazy. I don't think I've ever seen that, with players still sitting out who everybody thought was going to be in the treasure chest, still sitting there as free agents.
Right. I can have referred to it as a roller coaster. You used Ferris wheel from the high of John Tortorella's hiring to the start of free agency. You're right, it has been a little bit nuts. I get it that some fans are disappointed with the way expectations had been built up, fairly or unfairly, but the way I guess I look at it is fans can approach this stuff with emotion. General managers can't build their team with that.
That's an interesting thought, and a very correct one. He, along and I, have been here an awful long time. Has this been a hard year? Yeah, just like Al said, it's been a hard year. But we've seen harder ones, and we've seen the ability to be able to bounce back. Emotion, especially with social media now. Social media is so far off the wall where anybody can say there's no accountability. Somebody just go fire it out and say, yeah, that's why is this, why is that, and everybody's all up in an uproar. And because of that, and because of the circumstances of the year we had last year, all those things have added up to an absolute terrifying situation. But I think that our players didn't get worse. I mean, we're going to get players back. We had 9 injuries last year. And I said this the last time we had the podcast that, well, that's an excuse. No, it's not an excuse. There was a reason. You don't miss the Hayeses and the Couturiers and the Brassards and the Thompsons and the Farabys and the Atkinsons and the Ritzalainens during a regular season and figure you can survive on a regular basis in the National Hockey League. It doesn't happen. So now, all of a sudden, the same players that went to the bubble 2 years ago against the Islanders, we're getting those players back. And our other players are going to get better because we got a coach now that is going to take care of the culture immediately. Now, is it going to affect October and November? No, but you're going to see a different team. You're going to see a team that's going to be entertaining and a team that's going to be able to come and play night after night. This is not what the media says. Not. Now, I'm getting off base. I'm probably counting in or jumping into what you were going to talk about later on. I'm just saying, to go back what you said, the emotion of the fan, I understand it. But understand what is actually happening. Now, I was given
We got you this pad. You haven't hit it once yet.
Yeah, no, put it there.
I was given this so I wouldn't bang, and I'm banging because I'm trying to prove a point that it's not, you got to stop and understand what's going on. Everything happens for a reason. I know you're going to itemize the different things, so I'm going to get off and let Jason talk.
All right. Jason does a daily podcast, Flyers Daily, which is hard to come up, frankly, especially during the offseason, come up with new stuff to talk about. But, Jason, I guess you have so much money to play with, and you got to make a decision on where you're going to put those funds and decide when is it time to swing for the fences and when is it maybe not time.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of that obviously goes towards Gaudreau because we've been conditioned as followers of the Flyers, fans, whatever you want to call it, for years. When there's a shiny toy out there, Flyers are in the mix. Every time, right? Pre-salary cap. Whoever that big-name player that was available, Flyers were in the mix.
It was called the splash.
Yeah, and it happened consistently. And even if they didn't end up with the guy, they were absolutely in the mix, and they were driving up the price for other teams. And then even post-salary cap, we saw it. We saw it with Chris Pronger, aggressive moves and those kind of things. So we've been conditioned as, fans of this team to expect whenever there's a shiny toy, go get it. Now you have this unique situation with a player that's from here, coming off a 115-point season, plus 60, and wants to come back here and play the team that he rooted for as a kid. But the reality of the situation is they were a team that was 40 points off the playoffs last year. The reality of the situation is you're looking at basically a $10 million a year, 29-year-old winger. Does that make sense? And listening to Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts, I thought it was really interesting because he said, I chickened out because he was told that the Flyers weren't in on Johnny Gaudreau because of those reasons I just said. But he said, I just wasn't believing it because it was the Flyers. So even he has been conditioned that this team always goes after the big fish. I was not for it. I got caught up in the emotion of it. It would have been great to watch him every game. But the reality is you had to take care of other things, and the volatility of Ryan Ellis's availability is something that is very real. You have to bolster that defense. So it's all about timing, and when you're going to go after certain guys. Bill Meltzer referred to it on Flyers Daily as you live in a house that's in disrepair. You have a leaking foundation. You have some plumbing issues. It's not the time to go out and buy a Porsche and park it in the driveway, and that's what Johnny Gaudreau was. So expectations, if you have crazy expectations that are not met, you're going to be angry, and I think that's a play here.
Al, Flyers didn't mislead Johnny Gaudreau, from what I understand.
Oh, no, he knew they.
Yeah. He knew. He was told they didn't have the cap space. I think he hoped against hope.
He was hoping at the last minute the phone would ring.
Right.
But I was as guilty as anybody. I mean, I wanted him out of high school. That's how much I love him as a player. But I guess what you get confused is how you say something. It's like, well, just you can't. You're in a really tough spot because you can't say you don't love the kid because he's a terrific player and he's local. You can't go there. And then you try to explain yourself, but you don't want to say, well, we don't have anybody that can keep up with Johnny Gaudreau or something. You just can't go certain areas. And when you try to explain your long-term plan, most people only go from A to B. If you're trying to see M down the line, you're just not going to see it. So I guess my hope would be here is that I was so excited when they got the coach, Tortorella, and I'm thinking, I want to see how he gets the complete effort out of everybody, how he gets physical play out of everybody, how everybody, when you pencil in, I'm not even going to say numbers. I don't think he's a guy that goes to a player and says, you have to replace these numbers. Gaudreau would have got this. I think what he wants is meet my compete level. This is what I want from you. I don't want this. If you go to this compete level, these things will take care of themselves. So, I mean, I love watching Johnny Gaudreau play hockey. I love it. I think who wouldn't? It's a great skilled player. But this is a franchise that I don't know that even much as I wanted him, and I wanted to see him play, if they're in a position to have that Porsche.
Coach, you've been here as long as Al has. The other thing is, GMs can't necessarily come out and publicly say what they did or did not try to do, because if it doesn't happen, the guy maybe you were trying to move is still on your team, and he's not going to do that. No GM would.
What people don't know doesn't hurt them, but their opinions do, because somebody else is speaking up and saying, well, this should have happened, that should have happened. It's interesting. Chuck is the general manager, and he has to be the guy that's going to make the final decision. He's the guy, he's the leader of the pack. But have you ever thought about the 9 professional scouts that we have? We have 2 assistant general managers. We have 4 advisors, 3 of them being Hall of Famers. Do you think that this goes day to day without having a lot of input? I mean, a lot of hockey experience in a room discussing and deciding what to do, whether to take a guy like Gaudreau or not. Is Johnny Gaudreau a fabulous player? Yes, absolutely a fabulous player. What he says, $10 million a year, starting at 29. Has he ever been by the first round in the playoffs?
No. Knocked out this year again.
No.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of players, and please, let's go back to what he had just said. He's a local kid, comes from a great family, but now we're talking business. Can you win with him right now with the team you have, and at the same time, are you willing to eat the $10 million, understand that this is what your result is going to be? It's hard. The game's a hard game. There's a reason that, and I'm going to get myself in a little trouble here, but size becomes an important part.
I knew it.
Okay? No, but really, this is why when you get into the playoffs and you watch the Colorado Avalanche and you watch these teams, you can get yourself into a situation where it gets tougher and tougher and you can get shut down. Now, do I think that happened with Gaudreau? I don't know the answer to that because I don't see a lot of the games. But those are things that would be talked about. I'm not saying that was the reason, but those are the things that get talked about. And as like Al said, he's a spectacular player. What he does on a pair of skates and holding on to the puck and all those things, unbelievable. I just think the world of it. And I'm not the first guy that's brought up size with him because obviously that's why he didn't get drafted in the first round. Right. And he's proved everybody wrong. But the things that have to be discussed, which I'm all of a sudden talking about here, well, that's probably being said behind closed doors in all sorts of different variations about what you're going to make a $10 million a year investment over 8 years. You've got to talk about it. But we, as broadcasters, we don't know all the answers. We don't. All we can do is portray our thoughts and take what they've given us to be able to, when I say they give us, what we hear on a day-to-day basis because we're here. If that answers your, I mean, it's basically what you said is that we cannot come out and tell people what really happened. And the media can speculate, and they've done a very poor job of it.
All right, some of the speculation was, if this is true, if he had ideas of creating cap space, it was going to cost him more than, and he said this in his press conference, more than what had been reported. Now, it's fairly commonly reported that it would have cost, at the very least, the Flyers' first-round draft pick next year, 23. I'm not giving that up. That could be a lottery pick in one of the deepest drafts we've seen in years. How do you get high-end talent usually? You get a generational player through the draft. That opportunity may present itself. I'm not giving up that first-round pick.
No, that price is, when you start talking about the 2023 first-round pick, and you can lottery protect it, but they weren't going to allow you to lottery protect it. You're going to sell off a chance at a Connor Bedard, or, I mean, there's the top 5 in that draft are cornerstone star players in the NHL. We've been looking at this draft for 3 years at this point. And obviously you have Connor Bedard at the top of that list, who is Connor McDavid, or is the next generational player. When Sidney Crosby was drafted 17 years ago in Pittsburgh, all of a sudden the Penguins became front page news on every newspaper, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette or whatever it is. And 17 years later, they're still front page news because he's still there. That's the kind of impact you have. You do not trade that lottery ticket for relief on 1 year of salary on a player. You don't do it. So you got to look at the situation and you got to look at where they are. Like the other thing for a general manager, and like I agree with you completely, Coatsy, that what is communicated. No general manager is going to tell you what he's going to do, ever. People, I see this on social media. Well, we need to know what their plan is. No. You want him to tip his hand further and lose more leverage in any kind of trade negotiation or anything? No, you don't. And general managers say things all the time. They're just words. Coaches say things all the time. They're just words. You look at their action. Oh, I like such player. He got 6 minutes of ice time last night. You really don't like him that much, do you? If you like a player, you see it in the ice time reflected. With a general manager or an owner, you hear things, votes of confidence, and then there's changes. So they never tip their hand. But the point of it is that this team's in a situation where they do need star players. So you're not going to give up that lottery ticket. And I know Friedge reported that it became a 2023 first. And that's over the line. If you're going to talk about a 2024 first of Florida, which is going to be a pick 25 to 32, okay. Maybe now I'm having a conversation. But a 2023 first? Hell no.
Well, I'm hoping for a better season than we're talking about Bedard in December. I'm hoping that's what happens here. I mean, that's my hope of what goes on. And also, one of the biggest things here, and I don't think enough is made of, if you see what happened in the free agency market, this flat cap is no joke. This
the RFA market.
This flat cap. This is not a case of in the past, we can look ahead, there's going to be more money available. This is in cement. This is what it's going to be. So it's like at home, your budget for real. This is a flat cap. So I think if you were looking to get luxury, This was not the year to go get luxury. We see, you see Gaudreau. I mean, you see what's happened. And in fact, in Johnny's case, I think they actually misread some of the market when you look at what happened, the numbers that had, because teams are just so wary of this cap right now. How are you going to? What is this going to mean a year down the line? It's unbelievable what we're going to have to do to get around this. And I think that really was a huge factor. That there's no hope here that all of a sudden the league's going to more money's going to be available. No, you're dealing with a real hard cap right here.
It's pretty possible, Coatsy. We get 2-3 years ahead from now. And we could just as easily be saying, thank God they didn't do that, because you would have been in further cap jail.
I don't disagree with that at all. I think that is an interesting comment. I mean, let me ask you this, and I will ask the group. Of all the teams in the National Hockey League that Johnny Gaudreau went to, were you not as shocked as I was that he went to Columbus?
A little.
Yeah, well, I mean, they took out the whole western half of the continent, right? When he said he wanted to come back to the
in
east.
Fairness, let's point out, he was stuck in Canada during COVID.
Yeah.
For an American kid, I don't think we recognize how
very far from that.
And this is a huge get for Columbus. I mean, talk to Atkinson, you talk to guys that have played there. I was stunned. It's like, why would you go there? And it's like everybody that's been there really loves it. Mm-hmm. It's amazing to me. I've talked to people like they just love it. I'm like, wow, I don't live there. I've gone to Ohio State for a hockey game like twice. That's it. So I wasn't like in hockey heaven, but I think he really got sold by some of his high school teammate. Is right there.
Robinson.
Yeah,
that's his best buddy.
Yeah.
Well, no, the two Robinsons. The one that was with him in Calgary, and then the Robinson they're both from Belmar. One plays at Columbus, one plays in Calgary.
Yeah, go Gloucester Catholic.
But okay, who's he going to play with?
I have no idea.
Who's going to protect him?
You see him playing with Jake? Who knows?
I mean, you have Line A there still too, and I mean you have some highly skilled players. Like they can put a nice group out there on the power play. There's no doubt about that. But Columbus is interesting because, like you said, I think it takes a certain kind of person to fall in love with Columbus. Kind of quieter family guys. Like you look at Panarin, he wanted to leave. He wanted the glitz of New York City. Yeah. Obviously a big Russian thing going on in New York City as well. And then you look at players going back to Nash who wanted out. I mean, Jeff Carter lasted about 6 weeks there. and he wanted to be in L.A. with Richie. So, you look at that but...
Yeah, for the league, this is a good thing.
I agree.
For the league, this is a really good thing that a market like that attracts that player. I think the real danger is if you're a Canadian market right now, you look at Tkachuk up there, the two Tkachuks in Canada, you look at that and you wonder, boy, are they going to have a hard time?
Because you look at Austin Matthews down the line, too, another American-born player.
They're going to lose.
And they haven't won a cup in Canada since 93 when Montreal won it. Yeah. And I think that plays a part. The taxes, the dollar, and also the other elements of it.
Are we going to talk about Delorier and D'Angelo?
Absolutely.
I just thought I'd check.
So I guess here's where I go with that. It comes back to, were they one player away right now from seriously contending? There are enough other holes that I think Chuck decided this is a stabilizing summer. We have other things we need to address. It's a matter of where do you put those funds that you have available. The uncertainty around Ryan Ellis to begin with made the D'Angelo move really necessary.
No,
you needed to go get somebody.
That has affected virtually everything that's been done.
Right,
has been affected by that one piece.
That vortex.
That one piece has changed, and it's not like you can say it's not there. That piece, and you can't say it's there, and you can't say it's not there. It's a mystery piece. It's like it's Scrabble. It's the blank thing. You don't know what it is.
Well, that's the thing. Like you can't. Like people were saying, well, you're just going to use his cap space. Well, you don't know that you can put him on LTIR.
Right. No.
So what if he turns up healthy?
So before we get to Delorier, let's have you talk about Johnny or Tony D'Angelo, because I know he's been on your radar for a long time.
I'll tell you what, I am so excited. Tortorella, D'Angelo, our power play instantaneously becomes better. He had 20 power play points last year. everybody goes, well, he had a problem with the Rangers, and he disrupted their locker rooms and all that. Obviously, they didn't speak to anybody at the New York Rangers, and obviously they didn't speak to anybody at the Carolina Hurricanes, who will tell you that anybody who was in that room loved him. The only problem he had was with Georgiev, who's no longer with the Rangers. He's in Denver, and Tony moved on. Now, did he have some couple of things or scrapes when he was a junior? Yeah, who didn't? But this kid is a player. Not only is he a player, he's a flyer. He plays the game with a chip on his shoulder. He had 51 points in 64 games last year. He was third in scoring at one point in defensive scoring. He ended up 15th because he got injured. They loved him. And if I have a guy like Rod Brindamore say that he loved him as a player, that says it all for me.
Yeah.
Now, we already loved him. But for anybody to come out and say that's a bad move, you can't give him $5 million, you can't give up and give that. Where are you going to get a player as good as he is, be able to come with a chip on his shoulder and provide offense and provide what you are as a flyer, representing the logo? That's what I got to say about
offensive-minded defenseman, right-handed shot. That's
Everything.
not a small issue. And even if Ryan Ellis, we're all hoping, is healthy and part of this team next year, it allows you to slot guys. This is a pretty good blue line, pretty deep blue line.
Very deep at that point.
You got somebody to back Ristolainen up. And remember, I tell you about Ristolainen. Well, we got Ristolainen for. What do you mean, Ristolainen? Ristolainen, 6'5" guy, makes people uncomfortable in our defensive zone. He's never learned how to win. He played in Buffalo all those years. And then all of a sudden you go, oh, I'm going to get out of Buffalo. It's going to be better. I'm going to learn. And he comes here. And we have the same circumstance. Now, with Torts, it's going to get better. He'll get better. Everybody will become better.
All right.
With Brad Shaw, too, is an element of that, I think.
Yeah.
You're right, the
well.
assistant coach.
Yeah.
You're right. So Chuck said the priorities going into the offseason, we got to be better defensively. We got to cut our goals against. You got to be better on the power play and penalty kill. Sure. So he's thrown his money first at the need on the blue line. If you want to be harder to play against, Nick Delorier is a guy that's going to certainly make you harder to play against. He's going to protect teammates, and he's a tough guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's a handful. The game has changed, and there's not as much of that, but there's an element of accountability when he's on the ice that you're not going to be running around and taking shots at our top players because there's going to be, there's going to be accountability for that. You're not going to be able to do that. The one thing about Delorier, I like the player. I like the cap hit. 4 years is
that raises
a bit of a head scratcher. A 31-year-old fourth liner.
I got the answer to that.
Can't you move that contract 3 years?
Who cares?
Well,
who cares?
Well, you got
4 years.
You got
Hold on.
Yeah.
Who cares? You get a guy for $2 million a year, and you give him a no trade contract.
$175. Actually.
Who cares? It's not like you can't. What are you going to say?
He's an easily movable commodity at a trade
but
deadline.
I don't know that it's as easily movable with 4 years as he is at 2 years.
Hold on. There was 18 teams trying to get this guy. It's called supply and demand.
Yep.
18 teams wanted him. So what do? Well, we'll give you another year. Okay, we'll give you another year. Hold on for a second now. I'll tell you what, we'll give you you want a no trade? We'll give you a no trade.
Modified for the first 2 years, as I understand.
18 teams.
Yeah.
Figure it out. And then people are going, well, you can't give a guy a fourth liner and no trader. Who cares? Tell him to go home. No, I'm being honest. It doesn't. If he's that bad and he's going to be good for this team, this is going to be a player that is going to make everybody in our locker room feel better. Nothing is better than sitting around that room.
Everybody gets
with
bigger.
20 guys and saying, man, we're not going to get pushed around anymore. And don't you think that we talk to the players all the time. They knew what they needed. Our players knew what they needed to be a better hockey club. They know what they're coming off. And the people that think that, well, this team's no good, look, I'd like you to come down to the training camp. We'll take you into the locker room, and you can explain to them you think that they are going to be before we even start.
Well,
we haven't even played a game. Am I allowed to say that?
We're going to find out.
Yeah, we'll find out later on.
Be beeped.
We'll beep it. Ryan, beep that.
The guy, what they actually got another. They actually, this will help Konechny more than anybody on the roster, I think, to have another forward like that. to the physical player.
Yeah.
So I think that will. I think there's some looking at that.
He'll be writing
That's-
checks that Delaurier will
Everybody-
cash.
Right.
Everybody becomes better.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Everybody gets bigger, right?
Well, I always remember you skate around a warm-up and you look across on the other side and you go, oh, man, we're in trouble tonight. Because, like when Ryan Reeves got sat
that's what I was
out
gonna
in
say.
Game 6 against Pittsburgh, why would you sit Game 6 in the Stanley Cup final? Why would you sit him? Those guys are looking to him in the locker room to take care of business when you go out, to make them feel better. You've taken that element out. Tommy Wilson. I mean, it's endless when you go through all the teams that have won the Stanley Cup that have to have that element.
Pat Maroon.
Tampa Bay had nothing. They went out and got Maroon, Gaudreau, Coleman. Oh, all of a sudden, to go with their skill, they had players. They had guys to make everybody feel better. This is the guy.
There you go.
You've got some young players that are going to need to be protected, and it's going to be easier to do that now. It's going to quiet down here now for the next few weeks, and then we'll start.
Don't be so
ramping
sure
up.
with this
Well,
this offseason.
there is a period late into August that
Cottage
it gets
season.
kind of quiet.
Yeah, there's still some people out there through the league. I mean, believe it or not, Kachuk's name is like, it seems like they're ready to trade him out of Calgary in the next hour
Yep.
from what goes on, because they don't want to lose a guy like they just lost Johnny Hockey. But I'm sure when it gets down to it, the biggest plus is going to be you've got a coach, and you mentioned the defensive coach, the Shaw. That to me is a big deal. That you can now, and it's a big deal not just for the defenseman who, let's face it, a lot of guys have been moved up a slot. If you're looking at what the Ellis thing's done, to have a defensive system in place, one of the beneficiaries is going to be the goaltender in this, who I think was okay anyway. Well, a notch above okay.
He had a good year last
Goaltending
year.
was good.
Yeah.
Our
But he bounced
goaltending
back.
was good.
And now you add a coaching staff that's really going to make the accent on how are we going to play in front of this guy. And I think there's the huge plus from if you're looking for what's been upgraded, where is there any growth. I think it'll be in the way they play in front of their goaltender to defend.
We'll go back to how you started. Let's see where this team is under John Tortorella, the effect that he has, the effect he's going to have on certain guys like Kevin Hayes,
Yeah.
and a lot of guys. And I think then that's going to make this summer exactly what Chuck suggested it should be. We'll find out where we are.
That, to me, is the biggest thing going into the season that I'm looking for. We know Tortorella can develop younger players. We know he can take other players and take them to a next level by accountability and pushing them and making them uncomfortable. So I look at guys like Travis Konechny, who's kind of flattened out over the last couple of years since the bubble, after 3 straight 24-goal seasons, the last one in 69 games, basically a 30-goal pace. I look at Ivan Provorov. I look at Joel Farabee when he does come back, and guys that he's going to take to the next level. And then to Al's point about goaltending and environment, if there's more structure there and predictability, the ultimate enemy of any goalie is lack of predictability. Because you want to know that that guy on the back door is covered, or that they're not flooding like a moth to a flame on the puck all on the right side, and then there's that guy coming from the point and just coming in for a point-blank shot. That predictability will help Carter a ton. I worry a little bit about the backup situation because they end up signing Troy Grosnick to a contract who's played 4 NHL games, will be 33 when the year starts, and Felix Sandstrom came in, showed some good signs, but the Fedotov situation.
But you still have some money flexibility to go address issues if it's something that is going to have to be addressed with a veteran.
Yeah, and especially if Ellis is LTIR'd.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is part of the equation, that they can do that. The market has been insane for goaltenders this offseason. I think 14 teams were looking for goaltending.
Yeah.
So,
There are still guys out there.
yeah, there are still guys available, but and if you have a situation where neither of those guys can cut that backup situation for Hart, because, I mean, you have 14 back-to-backs. So you're going to have to use them there. You have to play your backup in today's NHL. You can't play Hart 65 games.
All right, we've rambled for 29 minutes. In the last 30 seconds, have you gotten your Hall of Fame speech written yet?
Oh, I've never written anything down in my life. You ever watch me? I don't.
He doodles.
I don't.
You got to be thinking about it.
I'm going to thank Coatsy. I'm not. No,
What
I
is it
haven't.
that he did for you?
Well, Coatsy gave me great entry. We both came here the same year, right?
Yeah,
Basically, 1980.
Yeah. Well, you came A little earlier. I came here as a player at 73, and we both broke in
Yeah.
at 80, 1980.
I'm glad I'm going with Billy Clement because I feel badly for Billy. My first team I covered was the Atlanta Flames, and he was there. Then he became a broadcaster here, and I was covering for the Inquirer. Then ESPN called and said, "You want to cover hockey?" I said, "Sure." I get on the plane, and who's there? Billy Clement. I'm working with Billy Clement there.
He can't get away from you.
He can't get away. I sort of feel badly, and
I
now
think it's neat, though,
he's going in. He's going in the same time. So
I think it's
it's really cool. It'll be a fun. I still can't. I mean, I'm looking for a recount. I don't understand how this happened, but I'll accept. I'll accept it.
Neat to have you sit in with us, and congratulations. That's heartfelt from all of us.
I just hope that Coatsy, everything he says got in this broadcast today.
What?
Are you going to apologize to all the people you pulled a practical joke on in your Hall of Fame speech?
No.
You only get so much time.
You want me to get all the things that I want?
There's certain words you use that sometimes I'm just hoping everything gets in the broadcast.
You want to bang anymore? We got this. Bang on that.
I love Cozy because he gets emotional. You could ask him about what's your favorite ice cream, and he's going to
I don't have a favorite ice cream.
Tell you what, in the booth, when he gets going and the arms start going,
Yeah.
you got
I
to
don't
keep
have
your head
favorite ice
up.
cream. I have a favorite beer, but I don't have a favorite ice cream.
All right, with that, let's
Free beer?
let's wrap this up. Al, thanks for
Thank you,
joining
no
us
worries.
in our latest Broadcasters Roundtable. For Steve Coates, Jason Myrtetus, Al Morganti, I'm Tim Saunders.
Thank you, Tim.